Hi, this is Ann with Graphic Design How To, and today I'm going to go over my favorite Photoshop 2025 new features. And I do want to say that most of these talk about artificial intelligence, so if you're not into that, you might want to skip this video. All right, let's get started. All right, the first awesome thing that is new in Photoshop 2025 is remove distractions. So to use this, we can come right over here to the Remove tool, which is underneath the Spot Healing brush. Then at the top, you'll be able to see Find Distractions. And we have two options here. We have wires and cables or people. So I'm going to use wires and cables. And it does take a little bit of time, but that is pretty amazing. They are totally gone. Now, if I zoom up in here, we still have the flags that were on some of the cables. So to remove those, we can just come over here to our Remove tool and paint over those like this. And we have some up here too. Now I do have a lot of people in this image too, so I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with the Remove tool and then also choose Find Distractions and choose this option, People. And you can see that it automatically tries to find the people in the picture, and it actually does a really good job. But maybe there's a person you still want in the picture. You can come up here and use the Subtract button, make your brush a little bit bigger, and get rid of the pink over that person. And then come up here and click the check mark. And here's what we've got. It's removed all of those people. So it's a really great new tool, and it saves so much time. Now, the way that Adobe uses artificial intelligence, it only pulls images that are available in its Adobe stock collection. So it's not pulling images from all over the internet. These are from people who have uploaded their images to Adobe stock. And Adobe stock pays those people a bonus. Actually, I am one of those, and it's pretty nice to get a bonus for the images that have been used in AI. Anyway, let's continue. The next awesome feature that Adobe Photoshop has is Generate Similar. Let's say we add something to our image. I'll come up here to the rectangular marquee. I'll come up here to Generative Fill, and I'll put Autumn Pumpkins Flat Lay. And then I'll generate. And of course, that takes some time. Okay, this is all right. So it's given us three options that we can choose. This is over in Variations under Properties. If you don't have this window open, that's under Window. It's right here, Properties. You can also use your contextual taskbar to flip through these variations. Now I really like this third option, but I can take it a step further and go in here with the three little dots and choose Generate Similar. And it will look at that and try to make similar images from that image. And I think most of these are pretty successfully similar. This one is kind of in the same shape. This one is using similar types of pumpkins, and then same here with the same kind of pumpkins. So it's just an easy way to get more options that are pretty similar to one you already have. The third feature that I really like is called Generate Background. So I'm going to open an image of a woman in a yoga pose. Now I do want to mention, if you want your final scene to be indoors, I would recommend taking a picture of your subject indoors. Or if you want it to be outside, take a picture of your subject outside, because Firefly doesn't do a really great job yet of matching the lighting of your subject. So I would do that step first before trying this. I do think eventually it'll be able to do that much better. First, we need to isolate her from the background. So to do that, I'll get on my contextual taskbar. By the way, this is also under Window at the very bottom, and I'll choose Remove Background. When you use that, you get a mask, and it generally does a good job. There are parts of her that it didn't quite get, so I'm going to click on the mask, make sure my white is in front over here, and get on my brush tool and just fill those areas in. Looks like a little bit of her fingers are missing here. And then down here, yeah, her toes are missing. Just take care of those real quick. Now this part with her hair, I'm not going to worry about that since this is just a tutorial, but you'd also want to remove the background there. Now I'll click on Generate Background, and then I'll just paste my prompt in that I've already prepared, which says, a serene indoor yoga space with large windows, allowing soft natural light to flood in. I'm going to make my canvas a little bit bigger, so I'll hit C to get my crop tool. I'm just going to pull this over, and then I'll go ahead and generate. Okay, and this first one looks really nice. I'm not crazy about whatever's going on out here. Sort of looks like a person, but is odd. My second variation is this one. Looks pretty great. And then this is the third variation. And I think this one is my favorite. Now the drawback of generate background is you cannot really move your subject around. So if I click on this layer and then get on my move tool, if I move her, she's actually cut out of the background. Honestly, it's not that much extra work because of generative fill. You could just fill that in. I'm going to undo and put her back. So that's one drawback of using this feature. But if you use the fourth new feature, which is generate image, you get a little more control. And this will be at the very bottom of your taskbar right over here. So I'm going to click that and I'm going to put in the same prompt. And now we have a few more options about what kind of output we get. We can choose whether we want an artistic look or a photo look. I'm going to choose photo. We can also put in a reference image. If you have an image that captures the lighting you want or the style, you can upload that and it'll try to match that reference image, and it will also try to make your prompt in that style. I'm not going to do that right now. And then you can also choose effects. There are a lot of different artistic effects in here, and there really aren't a whole lot for photos, but that's okay. I'm not going to choose one of those either. I'm just going to generate the image with the prompt and that's it. So we'll generate. This is going to fill the whole image with the scene. Okay, here's the first option, and I'm just going to pull this layer underneath. I'll get back on that layer, and now I can move my subject around. There's no hole where she was. Let's see what other options we have. Of course, we can also resize her to match the scene a little better. But one drawback of doing it this way is I'm not sure if you noticed, but the other image did have some shadowing, so you would need to add your own shadows here. And it does try to kind of see what works well with the image you put in. This way it does not. And generate image doesn't even take your subject into consideration. Okay, I'm going to try this again, and this time I'm going to add a reference image. I'll choose image, and here's the image I'll add. And I want it to look like a photo, of course, and I put the same exact prompt in, and we'll generate this. Okay, and here's what we get. The first one does not include people, which is actually a good thing because we already have our person that we want in here. The second image is good, but it's a little strange with some of the things that are hanging around. And then the third image has some body parts laying around, so obviously we couldn't use this one. But this is a good example for the fifth feature that I really love in Photoshop, and that is the Remove tool. The Remove tool now has AI built in. I'll click on that now, and when I leave it on auto like this, it's going to choose whether or not generative AI is needed. To make changes to this, first we need to rasterize the layer, and now we can just paint over the parts that are a little bit weird. If it's a really complex area, it's going to use AI, but it'll take longer, and you'll use up your generative AI credits that you get every month. If it's a very simple area, it'll automatically use Photoshop's regular tools that don't use AI. So that gave me this result, a little weird. I'm going to now remove that, and it's added a little matte here, which is fine. All right, those are my 5 favorite features in Adobe Photoshop. Now I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think about all the artificial intelligence in these newer Photoshop updates? Do you love them? Do you hate them? What do you think about it? All right, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.